Okay, so in this lesson we're going to have a look at createStore. So previously we've looked at createSignal, and createSignal is great for looking after storing primitives such as numbers and strings. But if we want to store something a little bit more complex, like an array or an object, we want to be using createStore, and that's because createStore is optimized to store these more complicated objects. And what actually happens is that under the hood, Solid actually creates individual reactive elements for each of the elements within the array or the object, so that the reactivity is really fine-grained. When you update a thing in an array or a key on an object, then only the things that are dependent on that will update. Okay, that was a mouthful. So let's get on with it. So let's have a look at what we've got. So we're going to create a book list. So in our book list, what we want is we want to have we're going to have an array of books, and let's just put something in here. Let's just put a book in so that we know what we want. So how we've set it up here. So we've got a title, an author, and whether it's been read or not. So this is our books to read list. So title, Dracula, author, Bram Stoker, and read, for now we'll put as false. Okay, so the difference here is when we use createStore, the actual list here, as you can see, is not an accessor. So we don't want the brackets on there. So if we save that, we come down here, we refresh. There we are. So we have our book list, and we have Dracula, Bram Stoker. Okay. So what if we want to add more things to our list? What would we do? So we would want a div. We'll give this a class, and we'll give this a class of input field, because I know that I have a class in there. And then we'll give this we'll have another div in here. This will be another layout one, and we'll give that a class of grid inputs, and this is just going to lay out a couple of inputs in a grid. So we'll put in a button here, and that can be add, and then we need a couple of inputs, because what we're going to do is we're going to have an input for the author and an input for the title. So let's have a look at this. Let's do this. Let's do another one. And we can't have that, so for now we'll just give it a value of empty. We'll give it a placeholder of book title, and this one we'll give a placeholder of author. Let's have a look, see what we've got. Okay, so this looks styled quite nicely. That's with my secret CSS that I've already done. So what we're going to do is we're going to type in here and we're going to say something like The Shining, and we'll put Stephen King. And then what we want to do is click add, and it will add it in here. Okay. So how can we do this? So we've got a store for our book list, but we could also have a store to store the values of our title and author, couldn't we? So let's copy this. And we could call this new book and set new book. And that will be a store, but it would be a store of an object. And we'll do it like that. So maybe we can actually do title, empty string, and author, empty string. Okay, so in here we could have value equal to new book dot title, and in here value new book author, and then on input we could change this, so we could take the event and we could say set new book. Now here we want to be able to target the value that we're going to be updating. So this is the author. So here we will say author, and then in here we'll just say e dot target dot value. So let's do the same for this one. So we'll do the same, we'll take that, add it into there, but here we'll do title, and that will be the same. So let's let's console log this out, or log out the value here of the store. If we see JSON dot stringify, and then we'll just output the new book store. Let's have a see what it looks like. I always get this the wrong way around. Is it null and then 2, or is it 2 and then null? There we are. So book title would be The Shining, and the author is Stephen King. Okay, so there we are. So that's that. So we can see that we're updating this store here with these values here. Now what we want to do is when we click add, we want to add this book to this list. So that's pretty simple, because we can set up a add book to list, and that will equal a function, and this will just set the book list. Now we'll be to a new array, we'll spread in the book list, and then at the end we're gonna have new book, and then red is going to be false. So can we see what we're doing here? So we're gonna have this thing here called add book to list. We're going to set the book list, we're going to create a new array, we're going to spread in the old book list array, and then we're going to add at the end another object. That object is spread values of new book, but we're going to also spread that in, and then we're going to set the red to false, because that's why we're adding it, because we haven't read it yet. So if we do that, and then we're going to do that on the add button. So on the add button we can just say add book to list. Let's have a look. So The Shining, Stephen King, add. And there we are, The Shining. But look, we have a little bug here. So when we click add, it doesn't remove the values out of here. So we need to fix that. So when we add the book to list, we also want to set new book back to the base state. Okay. Try again. I can't spell Frankenstein. Let's try Frankenstein. Get it the other way around. Mary Shelley. And there we are. And now we've got rid of that. So what else could we do? Well, when we actually read the book, we want to be able to check that it's read. So we want to be able to update this value here, this red, from false to true. So let's do that. So we'll have this as red book. And what we need to do in here, we need to pass in an ID. So what we could do actually here is we could just set the book title. So when we click on the checkbox, so on change, we want to pass in, we'll say toggle red book, So toggle red book, and in there we'll pass in the book title. Now you probably use IDs, to be fair, so but we'll use this for now. So in here we're going to say title, and then what we're going to do is we're going to set the book list. So first of all, what we want to do is we want to be able to identify the book. So the set book list function gives us these helpers. So this is book, and we'll say where book title equals title, and then we pass in the value that we want to update. So we want to update the read value, and then in here we want to say read, and we'll set it to the opposite of read, or read. Let's see if that works. Let's just log out the book list just to make sure that this is happening as what we think's happening. Yep. So if we do pre and pre again, and then we'll do JSON.stringify book list null 2. Let's just double check that that works. So we've got Bram Stoker, red true, red false. So you can see that the data is actually updating. True, false, true, false. Okay. So let's remove this. And there we have it. So Cujo, Stephen King, add. I've read that one. All my books seem to be horror books. The Rats by James Herbert. Add. Read that one. Okay. So that's createStore.